There is a silent power within you that can move mountains, heal wounds, and open doors no human hand could ever touch. And that power awakens the moment you learn how to pray the right way. My friends, there is a silent force moving through your very being, a sacred intelligence that knows how to turn invisible thought into visible reality. It does not sleep, it does not tire, and it never refuses a sincere heart. This force is your subconscious mind, and prayer is the language it understands. You see, most people think prayer is an act of asking, but true prayer is an act of acceptance, a calm inner knowing that what you seek is already yours. When you pray with fear, you reinforce the very condition you want to escape. But when you pray with faith, you awaken a power that can move mountains. Let me ask you, how many times have you prayed and felt no change? It's not because you weren't heard. It's because you spoke the wrong language. The infinite doesn't respond to words, it responds to belief. When your conscious mind says, "I want health," but your inner feeling whispers, "I am sick," the subconscious follows the feeling, not the words. So the secret is this: feel it real. When you pray, imagine the joy of already receiving what you asked for. Let gratitude fill your heart as if your wish were already fulfilled. That emotion becomes the magnet that draws your prayer from the invisible into the visible. Prayer is not repetition. It is realization. It is aligning your inner vibration with divine reality. And when your mind and heart move in harmony, creation begins. Do not pray and then contradict your prayer with worry. Worry is faith in the opposite direction. If you plant a seed and dig it up each day to see if it's growing, it will never take root. Let your prayer rest in trust, and it will blossom in divine timing. When you understand this, prayer becomes your greatest power. You no longer plead, you command with faith. You no longer fear the outcome, you feel the outcome. You no longer wait for a miracle, you become the miracle. So tonight, before you sleep, do not pray with words alone. Close your eyes, still your mind, and feel as though your desire is already fulfilled. Whisper in gratitude, "Thank you, infinite intelligence, for answering me now." And it shall be so. Because the moment you pray with power, the universe listens, creation stirs, and the invisible hand of God begins to move in your favor. Prayer is the language of your subconscious mind. It is the sacred communication between your conscious desire and the deeper intelligence within you that governs your entire life. When you pray, you are not merely speaking to an external power, you are impressing an idea upon the hidden mind that shapes your reality. The subconscious does not argue, reason, or analyze. It simply receives impressions and brings them to life. It takes the feeling of your prayer as a command, as a pattern to reproduce in the outer world. This is why the words you say in prayer are far less important than the state of mind in which you say them. If your words are filled with doubt and fear, you are transmitting confusion to your inner self. But if your words are alive with conviction and emotion, you are giving your subconscious a clear and definite blueprint to follow. Every prayer is a seed planted in the soil of your deeper mind. The subconscious mind is fertile ground, it cannot remain inactive. Whatever seed you plant in it, faith or fear, love or resentment, success or failure, it will cause to grow. The problem with many prayers is that people plant a seed of faith, and then water it with worry. They pray for health, but continually speak of sickness. They affirm abundance and then think of lack. They ask for peace and then live in conflict. The subconscious mind does not distinguish between what is good or bad for you. It only mirrors your habitual thoughts and feelings. When you understand this, you realize that true prayer is not a single act performed once, but a continuous inner attitude of faith. When you pray with awareness, you are deliberately directing the creative power of your subconscious. You are saying to yourself, "This is the reality I choose to experience." The moment you begin to believe that what you desire is already taking form in the unseen, the subconscious begins to align circumstances, ideas, and opportunities to bring that vision into manifestation. The process is invisible, yet its effects are unmistakable. You may suddenly feel inspired to take a step you hadn't considered before, or people may appear in your life who are able to assist you in unexpected ways. This is not coincidence. It is the natural movement of your inner power, responding to the pattern you impressed upon it through prayer. Think of prayer as a bridge between your conscious and subconscious mind. The conscious mind chooses what it wants to express, while the subconscious mind provides the energy and intelligence to bring it about. The two must cooperate harmoniously for results to appear. If the conscious mind speaks one language and the subconscious another, the bridge collapses. This is why your outer words must align with your inner feeling. When you declare, "I am healed," but secretly believe, "I am sick," the subconscious is confused by the contradiction and reproduces the dominant feeling, not the words. But when your feeling matches your affirmation, your entire being becomes unified, and creation flows effortlessly. Your subconscious mind does not understand future or past, it only understands the eternal present. When you pray, you must therefore speak and feel as though your desire is already fulfilled now. To say, "I will be happy someday," is to postpone happiness indefinitely. To say, "I am happy now," impresses the idea of happiness as a present fact. The subconscious takes this present feeling and expresses it as experience. It works with the image you hold in your mind and the emotion you attach to it. That is why the most effective prayer is one that is vivid, heartfelt, and certain. It is not repetition of empty phrases, but an inner knowing that the invisible has already become real. Consider how a child speaks to its parent with simple trust. It does not doubt that its request will be heard or answered. The child feels the assurance of being cared for, and that feeling becomes the prayer. In the same way, when you pray with complete faith, your subconscious responds instantly, not because of the words you use but because of the conviction behind them. The feeling of faith is the signal that reaches the deeper mind. This is the true language of prayer. Feeling combined with thought, belief united with desire. When you think of prayer as communication with your subconscious, you begin to see that you are never truly alone in your struggles. Within you is an infinite reservoir of wisdom, healing, and creativity, waiting to be awakened by your belief. You do not need to force results. You need only to align your inner state with what you desire. The subconscious operates according to law, and when you plant a seed of belief, it must grow. You can rely on this power as surely as you rely on gravity. It never fails, only your faith wavers. To pray effectively, you must quiet the surface mind. The conscious mind is often restless, full of noise and contradiction. It worries about the how and the when, but the subconscious requires calmness and clarity. In the stillness of your inner world, the impression of your desire takes root. That is why silence, meditation, or deep relaxation often make prayer more powerful. When your conscious mind is still, the channel to the subconscious opens, and your words and emotions flow directly into the creative depths. Many people think prayer requires struggle, but in truth, it requires surrender. It is not the intensity of your effort, but the depth of your belief, that moves the unseen forces of life. When you relax into the feeling of the desired outcome, you are saying to your subconscious, "I trust you to bring this about." That trust is faith, and faith is the energy that translates thought into form. Your subconscious knows the perfect way to accomplish what your conscious mind cannot see. It knows how to heal your body, attract harmony, and arrange circumstances far beyond your conscious control. This is why it is said that prayer changes everything, not because it alters external laws, but because it changes the inner pattern from which your world is made. When your subconscious accepts a new belief, your outer life rearranges itself to match it. The same power that governs the growth of a seed or the rhythm of your heartbeat is at work within you, responding to your mental images and emotions. To pray, then, is to instruct this inner power with faith and love, to mold it through your imagination, and to trust it to bring forth the corresponding reality. Every thought you think is a kind of prayer. Every emotion you sustain is a message sent to your deeper self. You cannot pray effectively one moment, and then speak negatively the next, for that would be like steering a ship in opposite directions. Consistency of thought and feeling is essential. When your inner dialogue is one of confidence, gratitude, and peace, your subconscious accepts that as truth and begins to express it. You are always praying, whether you know it or not, because your subconscious is always listening. You may not see results instantly, but that does not mean your prayer has failed. The seed planted beneath the soil must germinate before it breaks through the ground. In the same way, the prayer impressed upon the subconscious must unfold in time and space. Patience is part of the process, and persistence keeps the vibration alive. Continue to affirm and feel the reality of your prayer, until it becomes second nature, until your inner state and outer experience are one. To pray consciously is to recognize your union with the infinite intelligence that governs all creation. It is to know that you are not separate from the source of your good, but one with it. This realization transforms prayer from a request into a creative act. You cease asking for things and begin accepting them, as already accomplished in the invisible realm. You cease hoping and begin knowing. You cease pleading and begin affirming. The subconscious responds to this authority with obedience, because it is designed to serve the conscious mind that directs it with conviction and clarity. When you truly grasp that prayer is the language of your subconscious mind, your relationship with life itself changes. You begin to take responsibility for the thoughts you dwell upon and the emotions you cultivate. You understand that every feeling is a form of prayer, every belief a silent command to the inner power that shapes your destiny. You become more deliberate, more mindful, more at peace, because you know that the kingdom of heaven, the power to transform your circumstances, has been within you all along. True prayer is believing, not begging. When you beg, you affirm lack. When you believe, you affirm possession. Begging comes from fear. Believing comes from faith. The one who begs says, "I do not have." But the one who believes declares, "It is already mine." The essence of prayer is not in the words spoken, but in the consciousness behind them. You can recite 1,000 prayers, but if you still hold doubt within, your words are powerless. You can whisper a single sentence filled with deep conviction, and it can move unseen forces to transform your life. Belief is the spiritual currency with which you purchase all that you desire from the storehouse of the infinite. When people pray by pleading, they reinforce the very sense of separation that keeps them from their good. They picture a distant God who must be persuaded, convinced, or reminded of their needs. But the divine is not moved by desperation. It is moved by recognition. It responds instantly to faith, to the deep feeling that what is asked for already exists in the invisible realm. To believe is to accept this invisible reality as fact before it appears to the eyes. It is to live inwardly from the end, to feel now what you would feel if your desire were already fulfilled. In that feeling lies the miracle of answered prayer. Every belief is a mold that shapes the movement of your subconscious mind. When you pray with belief, you give that deeper mind a definite pattern to express. When you pray by begging, you give it confusion, because begging comes from awareness of absence. The subconscious mind works only with the image and emotion that dominate it. If the image is, "I do not have," then it must continue to produce conditions of lack. But if the image is, "I already possess it," the subconscious aligns with that state and brings into being whatever corresponds with it. This is why belief is the foundation of all effective prayer. To truly believe means to feel the reality of what you seek with such depth that all sense of waiting disappears. The mind becomes calm, for it knows that what is real within will soon be real without. It is not necessary to struggle or strain, because belief itself contains its own power. Belief is a living energy. It activates the hidden law of creation. When you believe, you are in harmony with the infinite intelligence that governs all things. That harmony allows the unseen to take shape in the seen. When you beg, you declare that you are separate from what you desire. When you believe, you declare unity with it. In the realm of spirit, all things already exist. There is no delay, only a difference in awareness. When you shift your awareness from absence to presence, your outer world must eventually conform to the new pattern. This is why belief is not mere optimism or hope. It is the inner knowing that something already is. Hope looks forward to the future. Belief knows the future is already secured in the present. You cannot fool your subconscious by words alone. It knows the feeling behind them. You may say, "I am prosperous." But if your feeling is still one of lack, your subconscious continues to express lack. You may say, "I am loved." But if your inner vibration is loneliness, you continue to experience loneliness. To pray effectively, you must harmonize your feeling with your affirmation. You must feel the joy of having, not the fear of not having. The subconscious is impressionable only to emotion, not logic. It is moved by the sincerity of your inner state. When you believe, you no longer look for evidence to confirm your prayer, because the evidence already exists in your consciousness. Outer signs may come later, but you no longer depend on them. Belief gives you peace even before the manifestation arrives. It changes your vibration, your speech, your attitude, and your expectation. You begin to live from a place of completion rather than deficiency. The beggar prays with anxiety, the believer prays with gratitude. The beggar waits for proof. The believer knows proof will appear naturally. Belief turns prayer into creation. When you believe, your words are charged with spiritual energy. They carry the weight of conviction that compels the subconscious to act. When you beg, your words are hollow, carrying the vibration of uncertainty. You cannot expect fulfillment from an attitude of fear. Fear blocks the current of divine power, while faith opens it. The moment you shift from asking to knowing, the current begins to flow. The universe is impartial. It simply mirrors your inner conviction. Belief is not a mental trick, but a deep awareness of spiritual law. Everything you experience is the outpicturing of belief. If you believe in struggle, you will find it everywhere. If you believe in divine order, you will see harmony unfold even in chaos. To pray effectively, you must choose what you wish to believe, and hold to it regardless of appearances. Appearances are temporary reflections of old beliefs. Do not be deceived by them. Stay loyal to your vision, until your outer life reshapes itself. The greatest prayers are not loud or elaborate. They are quiet moments of realization. When you say within yourself, "I know that this is done," you are affirming your divine authority. You are acknowledging that the infinite power acts through you, not apart from you. Belief dissolves the illusion of separation between the individual and the divine. It reveals that you are not petitioning an external force, but awakening the creative energy within your own consciousness. When you believe, you no longer pray for things. You pray from the awareness that you already have them. You no longer plead for healing. You rest in the feeling of health. You no longer strive for success. You express the confidence of success. In this way, belief transforms prayer from effort into alignment. It is not something you perform to get results. It is the natural expression of a mind that knows its unity with the source of all good. Consider the difference between the person who prays anxiously for a new opportunity and the one who calmly affirms that divine right action is already unfolding. The anxious person sends out vibrations of uncertainty and fear, which the subconscious reflects back as delay and disappointment. The calm person sends out vibrations of confidence and acceptance, which the subconscious translates into favorable circumstances. The difference lies entirely in the quality of belief. Belief is the seed of manifestation, and prayer is the act of planting that seed. Begging digs up the seed repeatedly to check if it is growing. Belief covers it gently with the soil of gratitude, and allows nature to do its work. When you truly believe, you cease to interfere. You stop contradicting your prayer with doubt. You stop asking, "When will it happen?" and begin saying, "It is happening now." That shift in consciousness is the creative act that sets the universe in motion. Many people have been taught that humility in prayer means to plead and wait. But true humility is to trust the divine process completely. It is to recognize that the same intelligence that formed the stars also knows how to fulfill your desire. Begging implies distrust of that intelligence, belief honors it. When you pray with belief, you acknowledge that your desire is the divine impulse seeking expression through you. It is not something separate from you but part of your spiritual unfolding. Belief is magnetic. It attracts to you people, ideas, and events that correspond to its vibration. You may not see how things will work out, but the law of belief arranges the details in ways beyond the reach of the rational mind. This is why the person of faith seems blessed by coincidences. These are not accidents but reflections of inner certainty. The believer lives in a world that continually confirms his faith, while the doubter lives in a world that confirms his doubt. The mind that believes walks in peace, for it knows that unseen forces are working on its behalf. It does not measure time or question method. It simply rests in the assurance that what is real inwardly must appear outwardly. That assurance is the difference between prayer that transforms and prayer that merely repeats words. When you believe, you are not trying to create faith. You are expressing it. You are speaking from the authority of spiritual law. You know that your word, once felt as true, becomes the creative word that cannot return void. To believe is to cooperate with the infinite. It is to align your conscious thought with the deeper intelligence that governs all creation. When you beg, you resist that flow. When you believe, you move with it. The believer and the divine are one in purpose, and through that unity, all things become possible. Emotion gives power to prayer. Thought alone is like a spark without fuel, but emotion is the living fire that sets it ablaze. Every idea you hold in your mind carries a certain vibration, but it is your feeling that determines its strength. The subconscious mind, which is the creative power within you, does not respond to mere words or logic. It is moved only by the emotional tone that accompanies those words. When you speak or think with deep feeling, you impress your subconscious with a lasting command. When you speak coldly or mechanically, your words pass by unnoticed. Emotion is the electricity that activates the thought and sends it into the unseen field of creation. When you pray, it is not the length of your words that matters, but the intensity of your feeling. You can utter a short prayer filled with burning conviction, and it will do more than hours of empty repetition. The universe is not persuaded by eloquence. It is influenced by vibration. Your feeling is the vibration that communicates with the divine. If you pray for healing but still feel fear, the emotion of fear neutralizes your prayer. If you pray for abundance but feel unworthy, the emotion of unworthiness sends the opposite message. The subconscious accepts the dominant emotion as truth, regardless of the words you use. That is why emotion is the creative key to effective prayer. Every emotion has its own frequency, and that frequency attracts corresponding experiences. Joy attracts harmony, fear attracts struggle, gratitude draws blessings, resentment draws obstacles. When you understand this, you see that prayer is not something you perform occasionally, but something you live constantly. Each sustained emotion is a form of prayer, because it continually communicates with the creative part of your mind. You are always broadcasting energy into the universe, and it always returns in kind. Prayer, therefore, is most powerful when your emotions and thoughts are unified in the same direction. Imagine a person who prays for peace, but lives in constant agitation. Their words speak peace, but their heart radiates conflict. The subconscious listens to the heart, not the lips. The emotion of agitation becomes the prayer that is answered, not the words of peace. This is why the wise have always taught that you must feel the reality of your prayer. To feel it is to live as though it were already fulfilled. The emotion of fulfillment imprints the subconscious with the image of success, and that image becomes the pattern for outer manifestation. Emotion is not meant to be suppressed in prayer. It is meant to be directed. You must harness it as an instrument of creation. Many people pray mechanically, because they have been taught to suppress feeling. In spiritual practice, they repeat sacred words without life, as though recitation alone could change circumstances. But the subconscious does not respond to sound. It responds to the inner energy of belief and emotion. When you pray with genuine love, gratitude, and joy, you are speaking the true language of creation. Those emotions penetrate deep into your being and awaken the sleeping powers within. Consider how a mother prays for her child in distress. Her prayer is not a dry statement, it is saturated with emotion. Her whole heart is in it. That feeling moves mountains because it carries the vibration of absolute sincerity. The subconscious recognizes sincerity as truth. When emotion and conviction merge, they form an unbreakable command that must be fulfilled. The same principle applies in every area of life. Whatever you pray for, health, guidance, prosperity, must be accompanied by the emotional certainty that it is already yours. That certainty is the bridge between thought and manifestation. Emotion gives life to the image you hold in your mind. A thought without feeling is like a painting without color, technically complete but lifeless. The subconscious sees the picture you hold and feels the energy behind it. The stronger the emotion, the faster the subconscious begins to act upon it. If your prayer is filled with joy, gratitude, and faith, the subconscious accepts it immediately as reality. If your prayer is filled with worry, doubt, or sadness, it accepts that instead. This is why you must discipline your emotions, not by denying them but by transforming them. Every negative emotion has a higher counterpart. Fear can be turned into faith, doubt into trust, sadness into peace. By consciously shifting your emotional state before and during prayer, you magnify its effectiveness beyond measure. You do not need to force emotion. You need to awaken it through imagination. The subconscious mind responds vividly to mental imagery. When you visualize the fulfillment of your desire, and feel the joy of it as though it were already real, the emotion rises naturally. You begin to feel the thrill of success, the warmth of love, the peace of healing. That feeling is the creative substance of prayer. The more clearly you imagine and feel, the deeper the impression you make upon the subconscious. This is why visualization and affirmation work so powerfully when combined with emotion. They communicate not only through thought, but through the living vibration of feeling. When you pray with emotion, your whole being becomes involved. The conscious mind chooses the thought. The subconscious supplies the power. Emotion is the bridge that connects the two. It fuses thought with energy, mind with matter, idea with form. Without emotion, your thought remains inert, like a blueprint never built upon. With emotion, it becomes a living structure in the unseen world, destined to appear in the seen. The creative power of the universe moves according to the emotional quality of your inner life. Every great teacher of spiritual truth has emphasized the same principle in different words. Believe that you have received, and you shall receive. That belief is not a cold intellectual act. It is a warm, vibrant feeling of completion. When you feel the end is real, your emotion becomes magnetic. It attracts conditions and people that correspond with your inner state. Life begins to reorganize itself to match your emotional vibration. That is why it is said that faith moves mountains. Faith is emotion directed by thought, a feeling of certainty that leaves no room for doubt. If you examine moments when your prayers have been answered, you will notice that they were always accompanied by strong emotion. Perhaps it was deep gratitude, a sense of release, or an unshakable knowing. Those feelings are signs that the subconscious has accepted your prayer. Once accepted, it begins to manifest through the natural flow of events. Sometimes the answer comes through inspiration. Sometimes through a sudden opportunity or a change in perspective. Whatever the method, the emotion you felt in prayer was the activating force behind it. It is important to understand that negative emotion also carries creative power, but it works in reverse. Anxiety, resentment, and guilt are forms of prayer for more of what you do not want. When you dwell on them, you are instructing your subconscious to recreate similar conditions. The law does not discriminate between positive and negative emotion. It simply obeys the dominant vibration. Therefore, you must become the guardian of your emotional life. Before you pray, cleanse your mind of bitterness, fear, and self-condemnation. Replace them with feelings of love, gratitude, and forgiveness. Only then will your prayer carry the vibration of harmony that attracts good. Emotion in prayer is not about outward display, but inner sincerity. Some of the most powerful prayers are silent tears, felt deeply but spoken to no one. The subconscious understands that language perfectly. When you pour your heart into your prayer with genuine faith, you align yourself with the creative intelligence of the universe. Emotion opens the channel between you and the divine. It dissolves resistance, and allows the flow of energy to move freely. The moment you feel deeply that your desire is already fulfilled, the creative law is set in motion. Your emotional tone determines the quality of your entire life. Every experience you attract is a reflection of the emotion you habitually express. Prayer is your opportunity to raise that tone consciously. It is your moment to shift from fear to faith, from doubt to confidence, from longing to fulfillment. Each time you pray with emotion, you carve a deeper path in your subconscious toward the state you wish to live in. Over time, that state becomes natural, and your prayers manifest almost effortlessly. The greatest mistake people make is to think that emotion is weakness. In truth, it is strength. It is the power that drives every creative act. When directed with wisdom, emotion becomes the sacred fire that transforms your world. Without it, even the most beautiful words are lifeless echoes. When you allow your heart to feel the reality of what you desire, you ignite the creative engine of the universe. That feeling is the true prayer, the living connection between the human and the divine, the visible and the invisible.